Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, checking your phone, opening the news, and seeing a headline that sounds impossible. Jesus has arrived. Not 2000 years ago, not in ancient Jerusalem, but today, right now. And he's not somewhere far away, he's in your city, walking the same streets you walk, standing in the same places you pass every day. The question is, what would happen? Would people believe him? Would people follow him? Would people ignore him? And honestly, would people even recognize him? Let's imagine what that day would look like. At first, the world would probably go crazy. Phones would explode with notifications, videos would spread everywhere, everyone would be trying to capture proof. Is this real? Is this actually Jesus? How is it possible? Millions of people would argue online. Some would say this is the greatest moment in human history. Others would say there is no way. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, Jesus would probably be doing something completely unexpected. Because if we look at the stories from his life, Jesus wasn't usually chasing fame. He wasn't trying to stand on the biggest stage. He wasn't hanging around only with kings and powerful people. He spent time with ordinary people. The poor, the sick, the forgotten, the people everyone else walked past. So if Jesus showed up in your city today, he probably wouldn't start by going to the richest neighborhood. He probably wouldn't be looking for celebrities. He might walk through places where people are hurting, hospitals, homeless shelters, struggling neighborhoods, places where people need hope, because that's what he did before. He went toward the people who needed him most. And then comes the biggest question, what would he say? Imagine thousands of people gathering around him, everyone expecting some huge announcement, maybe a speech that changes the world. And Jesus begins talking. But instead of talking about power, he talks about love. Instead of revenge, he's talking about forgiveness, and instead of chasing money, he talks about what really matters. And that might surprise people, because a lot of people would probably expect Jesus to come back and immediately destroy his enemies. But the Jesus described in the Gospels focused heavily on mercy, compassion, and changing people's hearts. He challenged people to love their enemies, to help the poor, to forgive others, to stop pretending to be perfect. And that message, it would probably still challenge people today. Actually, maybe even more than before. Because imagine Jesus walking through a modern city. He would see incredible things, technology that connects billions of people, medicine that saves millions of lives, and buildings reaching higher than anything people built in ancient times. Human achievements that would seem impossible 2000 years ago. But he would also see the problems. People addicted to their screens, people feeling lonely despite being connected to everyone, people fighting over politics, religion, and identity, people with everything they need, but they still feel empty. The world has changed a lot since the ancient times, but human problems, not as much as we think, because people still search for meaning, people still want love, people still fear death, people still wonder, does my life matter? And those are the same questions people were asking thousands of years ago. And now here's where things get really interesting, because do you think if Jesus came to your city today, would everyone accept him? I reckon probably not, and that's something we see in the original stories too. Even when Jesus performed miracles, people still rejected him. People still questioned him. People still hated him. Because sometimes the hardest thing isn't believing something is possible. It's accepting what the belief would require you to change. A lot of people might want Jesus to appear, but would they actually listen? Would they would they change their lives? Would they forgive people they hate? Would they help people they usually ignore? Would they live differently? That's the real challenge, because the story of Jesus was never just about seeing miracles. It was about transformation. So maybe the biggest question isn't what would happen if Jesus visited your city today. Maybe the bigger question is, what would you do if he did? Would you run toward him? Would you walk away? Would you ask questions? Would you be ready for the answers? Because if Jesus really appeared today, one thing is almost certain: the world would never be the same again. The streets would be filled with questions, the internet would be flooded with debates, millions of people would search for answers. But behind all that noise, beyond the cameras, beyond the headlines, there would be one person walking through the city, talking to people, helping the hurting, and reminding everyone of a message that has lasted for thousands of years. Love matters, and people matter, and the way we treat each other matters. So thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and yeah, you can turn on notifications if you want so you don't miss the next story. And I hope everybody who's seeing this video has an absolutely fantastic day. Remember to be kind. Be kind to at least one person today. Promise me that. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next video, so peace out.